She stood quietly in the corner of the crowded hall, her worn jacket zipped up as if it were the only armor she had left. No one knew who she was or why she had been called there, but whispers ran through the ranks. Orders came sharply from a voice of authority. She was told to remove her jacket. The room fell silent, eyes locked on her as if waiting for a secret to be revealed. With a slow breath, she unzipped it, and the sight beneath made even the toughest soldiers pause. There were scars deep, jagged marks that told a story of battles no one could imagine. They weren't just wounds, they were proof of survival, of pain endured and victories no one dared to speak of. Among the crowd, a decorated general stood watching. His stern face, carved by years of war and command, softened into shock. He had seen countless soldiers, but never anything like this. As his gaze traced the lines of her scars, something shifted. Instead of authority, there was respect and unspoken recognition of a strength greater than his own. Then, to everyone's disbelief, the general slowly raised his hand and saluted. The room went still, as though time itself had stopped. Who was this woman? What story hid behind those scars that even a general, feared by many, would salute her in silence? Her past was like a shadow unknown, dangerous, and filled with secrets that could shake everything they believed. She met his eyes, her expression calm, almost unreadable, but there was something fierce burning beneath the surface. And just as the tension reached its peak, she turned as if ready to walk away, leaving everyone desperate to know the truth. The silence in the hall felt heavier with every second. Soldiers exchanged confused glances, unsure if they had just witnessed respect or fear from the general. No one had ever seen him like this before. He lowered his hand slowly, but his eyes never left her. It was as if he recognized something in those scars, something that belonged to a story far greater than any medal or rank. She stood there, calm but unshaken, as if the weight of every stare meant nothing to her. People began to whisper her name, but most of them didn't even know it. All they knew was that she had appeared one day, carrying nothing but that old jacket and a silence that made everyone curious. The general finally stepped closer, his boots echoing against the floor, each step filled with caution. His face held questions he dared not ask aloud. But the way he looked at her said everything. He had seen something like this before, and it had changed him forever. In the corner, an officer nervously shuffled some papers, as if trying to remember why she was even there. There had been rumors of her past, stories of missions that had gone wrong, of people saved at a terrible cost. But no one had ever confirmed them. Her scars told the truth that no report ever could. They were marks of survival, of battles fought, when there was no backup and no hope. She didn't speak, but the silence spoke for her. The general, still unsettled, finally said in a low voice, "Where did you come from?" But she didn't answer. Instead, she turned her gaze toward the door, as if something or someone was waiting for her outside. The general's question hung in the air, unanswered, but the weight of it pressed on everyone present. She remained still, her expression unreadable, as though she carried 1,000 untold stories behind her steady gaze. A young soldier at the back shifted uncomfortably, his curiosity burning. He had heard whispers that she wasn't just any civilian or soldier, that she had once been part of an operation. So secret, even high-ranking officers pretended it didn't exist. The general finally motioned for everyone to leave the room except for his most trusted officers. The doors closed, and the air felt heavier, charged with an unspoken tension. He studied her closely now, as though piecing together fragments of a past he had long tried to forget. "Oh, scars," he said quietly. "I've seen marks like them only once before, during Black Ridge." His words made the officers glance at each other nervously. Black Ridge was a mission no one dared to discuss, a name buried in classified files. where too many lives had been lost and the truth never surfaced. She lowered her eyes, not in fear, but in silent acknowledgement. Something about her presence confirmed the general's worst suspicions that she wasn't just a witness to history, but a survivor of something darker. One officer, younger and more impulsive, stepped forward and asked, "What happened to you out there?" She didn't answer. Instead, she gently pulled a small object from her jacket poquita faded insignia. Its edges burned and cracked. The general's face went pale as he recognized it. "That's impossible," he whispered. His voice trembled, not with weakness, but with a fear rooted in memory. Outside, a distant sound of helicopters began to rise, as though the past she carried was coming back for all of them. The sound of helicopters grew louder, vibrating through the walls like an approaching storm. Everyone in the room froze, their eyes darting toward the windows as if expecting danger to crash through at any moment. The woman didn't flinch. Instead, she closed her hand around the burned insignia, her fingers tightening as though it held more than just memories. It held the reason for everything. The general's jaw clenched. "They're coming for you, aren't they?" he asked, his voice low and tense. She met his gaze for the first time with a look so steady it sent a chill through him. "No, they're not just coming for me," she said quietly. "They're coming for everyone who knows what happened." Her words struck like a warning bell, and the officers shifted uneasily, realizing they were already part of something they didn't fully understand. The general's mind raced. He had spent years burying the truth of Black Ridge, locking away every file, every report, every secret. If she was here, it meant those secrets had resurfaced, and whoever wanted them silenced wouldn't stop until they were buried again. Outside, the rhythmic thumping of the helicopters grew closer, shadows sweeping across the windows. One of the younger officers moved toward the door, but she stopped him with just a look, her scars catching the light like reminders of every fight she had endured. "You don't understand what's coming," she said. The general took a step forward, his voice sharper now. "Then make me understand. Tell me why they fear you." For a moment, her expression softened, almost as if she was about to speak. But before any words left her lips, the lights flickered, and the building shook with the force of something landing outside. The air was thick with anticipation. Something or someone was already here. The floor stopped trembling, but the silence that followed felt sharper than the noise. Then a narrow red line slid across the far wall, not from outside, but from the ceiling vent. She turned before anyone else noticed. "They're already inside," she said. Before the general could respond, the comms panel crackled to life on its own. A calm voice, filtered and steady, spoke a name no file contained anymore. Her old code name. The officers stiffened. Only someone with top clearance or someone who was there at Black Ridge could know it. She opened her hand. The burned insignia was faintly warm now, a soft pulse beneath the scorched metal. The general stared. "That's not possible." It was decommissioned. Her eyes told him he'd always known it wasn't just a keepsake. It was a key, maybe, to the encrypted flight logs. Maybe to the missing survivor list that had never matched the official report. A faint click echoed. Above, the young officer who had asked too many questions slowly backed away toward the side console. His nervousness was gone. His posture had changed, deliberate, trained. She watched him reach for the manual override. "Don't," she said quietly. He froze, surprised she'd singled him out so fast. The general caught it now, too. "You're not here to protect this base," the general said. The officer didn't deny it. His silence confessed everything. Outside, one helicopter lifted off again without taking anyone on board, just a decoy shifting position. The real extraction or strike was meant to happen from within. The lights dimmed to emergency glow. and a soft metallic whir began beneath the floor, like a vault waking. She stepped forward, scars faint in the low light, voice steady. If they open that chamber, it won't just bury the truth. It will erase everyone who ever touched it. The officer's hand hovered over the switch. The pulse in her palm quickened. Something hidden for years was seconds from being exposed or erased. The officer's hand hovered, trembling, as the metallic whir from beneath the floor grew louder. The tension in the room felt like a storm about to break. The general raised his voice, commanding, "Step away from the switch." But the young officer turned sharply, his expression unreadable. "You don't understand," he said. "If this chamber opens, everything we've hidden, all the names, all the experiments, they'll come for us all. She's not who you think she is." The woman's eyes narrowed, but there was no fear in them, only resolve. "I'm exactly who you think I am," she replied softly. She held up the insignia, and suddenly the glowing pulse from its surface synced with the sound of the vault. The officer hesitated, caught between fear and uncertainty. "You think you can stop them?" he said. She took a step closer, her voice calm but firm. "I've stopped them before." With one swift motion, she slammed the insignia against the control panel. Sparks flew, the lights flared bright, and the floor beneath them shook as the vault sequence stopped mid-process. A sharp silence filled the room, broken only by the sound of the helicopters outside retreating into the night. Everyone exhaled, in relief, to accept the general. His eyes were fixed on her, but not with gratitude. "If you shut it down, then what's powering it now?" he asked, his voice heavy with realization. She turned slowly, her face shadowed. Before anyone could react, the insignia began to crack, glowing with a strange light as though it carried something alive inside it. She looked at the general with a faint, knowing smile. "They were never." "After me," she whispered. "They were inside this the whole time." And as the insignia shattered in her hand, the lights cut out, plunging them all into darkness. The darkness was total for a few seconds, broken only by the sound of shallow breathing and the faint hum of failing systems. Then emergency lights flickered back to life, revealing the woman standing still, her hand empty where the insignia had been. The shattered fragments lay on the floor, glowing faintly before cooling into lifeless metal. Whatever power had been, inside it was gone. The young officer, pale and shaken, lowered his hand from the switch. What did you just do?" he asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. She looked at him, her expression softer now. "I ended it. Everything tied to Black Ridge, every secret they tried to bury, is gone. There's nothing left for them to chase." The general studied her for a long moment, his face unreadable. He seemed older, as if years of memories had suddenly caught up to him. "You could have walked away," he said quietly. "Why come back?" She gave a small, almost sad smile. "Because someone had to make sure the truth didn't take anyone else's life. Some battles aren't meant to be won, they're meant to be closed." Outside, the helicopters were gone, leaving only a calm night sky. The officers stood silent, each realizing they had witnessed something far bigger than orders or rank. The young soldier who had watched from the back stepped forward. "Will we ever know what really happened at Black Ridge?" She glanced toward the door, her jacket still lying on the floor, and shook her head. "Knowing won't change it. Living will." With that, she turned and walked out, her silhouette framed against the rising dawn. The general gave one final salute, not out of fear but respect, that surpassed finally faded into silence.